welcome. This is the parent panel, and what we'll do, I know that two are here, and if Stu Crucell, if you're here, speak up, but we'll go with what we've got. And so perhaps if Susanna and Sharon, you could briefly introduce yourselves, call your name, your child's name and grade, where you're from, and a little bit about your search and how you came to Commonwealth. And from that, we can turn to some questions. And to our visitors, again, you're welcome to enter questions into the chat. And I also see that there are some parents in attendance as applicants, but who are also current parents at Commonwealth. So feel free to raise your hand and speak up if one of the questions is something you'd be happy to contribute. But why don't I start with Sharon Yamamoto? Do you want to unmute and introduce yourself, Sharon?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon Yamamoto, as Bill said. My son, Raphael, is a junior this year. And we live in Winchester. So we were looking for a day school in the Boston area, some place that was easy for my commute, but also something that really fit him. We did not look at many schools. We came from a very untraditional junior high school experience, middle school experience. So we wanted something that was not a traditional prep school necessarily. And the size was important to us. We wanted a smaller school. So from the moment I knew about Commonwealth and visited, I just absolutely loved it. And my son did as well. I remember the open house when we were climbing those crazy stairs and looking at all the wonderful architecture in the rooms, and I thought this is just perfect. So from the beginning, I think that was it was a great fit. It was a great fit. It was in Boston. It's small. The academics are incredible, but it just really spoke to our family in terms of community. The students and the faculty all seemed to get Raphael from the very beginning, even from his day visits. So that's how we came to really want to go to Commonwealth.
Great, thank you. And Susanna, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Susanna, and I have a daughter who is currently a senior. Her name is Sol, and we live in Cambridge. So we heard of Commonwealth by word of mouth, and we decided to come here because, yes, part of it is the strong academic program, but also we were really looking for a place where our daughter would be known not only as a student, but as a person. And we thought that this was the place to do that. And we also, I remember being in one of these meetings 4 years ago, and I remember hearing that Commonwealth was a school for kids who love learning almost for the sake of learning. And that really was a defining factor for us, because we definitely wanted to have Sol be completely engaged, continue in her love of learning, but also grow it. So that's why we decided Commonwealth.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll ask once more, as our third parent panelist is Stuart Crucell. Are you out there? Well, I guess not. If he shows up, we will we'll invite Stu to introduce himself. But what I thought, maybe Susanna, if you could turn up your volume a little bit, that will be helpful. And I'll toss out a few questions. If you'd like to post a question in chat or unmute yourself and just ask the question. But I thought it might be helpful. Susanna, could you talk a little bit, since Sol is a senior now, what are some of the ways she's grown since coming to Commonwealth?
So sure, can you hear me better now?
Maybe a little bit more.
Okay, is it better like that?
I think so. Well, okay, I guess that's what we'll go with it.
Okay, so I think the academic growth has been incredible, but I think that the growth as in terms of her confidence has been extremely significant. And so she started Commonwealth and she was very quiet in her classes. She was afraid of speaking out in some of her classes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And with time, she has become very, very confident on that respect, and even in expressing, all kinds of opinions. And she's grown very, very confident in that, in writing and in orally. So I think that's her biggest growth.
Great. Thank you. And Sharon?
I would agree 100% with Susanna, what she said about the confidence. So Raphael also is a quiet child, and I was a bit worried, in a new environment, how he would kind of grow. But the community was so welcoming from the very beginning. He, even since last year, actually, and I started to see it when he was a freshman, he just started to feel more confident, reaching out, advocating for himself, making friends. Last year he started a club, which is something so trying to take on more leadership opportunities. It's been a really wonderful opportunity for him, and just for me to see him grow in so many ways.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. There's a question, and I'll keep you in the spotlight, Sharon, but there's a question: what was something that surprised you about Commonwealth?
Surprising about Commonwealth was from the beginning how much everyone cared. So when Raphael was accepted, and all students, when they're accepted, Carrie handwrites, or somebody in the admissions office handwrites a letter saying welcome, and then writing some of the reasons why he was accepted, and how he may, grow in Commonwealth, what he can do, kind of what sort of clubs he might be interested in, how the reasons why Commonwealth chose him. And to me, that was just an amazing welcome, and just made him feel right off the bat that he was part of the community. And since then, it's just improved, right? So the community is so close, the faculty care so much, the administration, everybody knows him, the other students, the older students look out for the younger students. So that surprised me. I know it's a small school, but really, generally, people care at Commonwealth.
Terrific. Thank you. Susanna, do you anything to add?
Sure. So I think one of the surprising things was the extent in which our daughter is known. So that's what we were looking for. It's just surpassed all our expectations. Like 4 years ago, we went to our first curriculum night, and we met with 7 of her teachers. I think it was 7 classes that she was taking. And every single teacher said something about Sol that rang very true, that it was on target. So that has continued. Then she had a teacher last year as a junior who had never been her teacher, but maybe a month or 2 into classes told her, Sol, you have grown so much. Remember how you started school and you were hesitant to talk in class, and look at where you are right now. You're basically leading this conversation. And I think the surprising thing is that she had never been her teacher. It was from observing, grading meetings perhaps, I'm not sure where, but she is well known.
You referred, Susanna, to grading meetings. I might just mention that 3 times a year, the entire faculty, at the end of the first quarter, at the mid-year, and again at the end of the year, and we do it for 3rd quarter for 9th graders, but 3 times a year, the faculty gathers in person or virtually. We prefer in person, and we go through every student in the school. We review their comments, their grades, and the advisor will ask questions for clarification, so that the advisor then can craft a cover letter that accompanies all of the comments that go home. I think, Sharon, your talk about the connection across grades, the way Raphael's connected, I think that answers one of the questions in the chat, which is about social dynamics within and across grades. There are a couple of questions about parent involvement, and maybe Susanna, why don't you start with that, and then Sharon, you can talk a little bit more about the parents committee as well.
So the way that I've been involved has been really through admissions, and the reason for that, like today, like being in an admission session or reaching out to parents if they have questions who are considering Commonwealth. The reason is that when we went through this admission process ourselves, we found that it was really helpful to talk to other parents who about what it really looks like from a parent perspective. So there's multiple opportunities to be involved in the school, but everybody chooses, I guess, what feels right. It's not expected that people participate, but it's certainly welcome. I've always felt very welcome.
Sharon, you?
That's right. So we do have a very active parent committee. I'm the co-chair, one of the co-chairs this year. And what Susanna said is true, is we know that parents are busy. Some parents like to just observe from a distance. Some really like to get involved. So there are a lot of opportunities for parents. Either, you could actively join the parent committee meetings. We have 4 a year. There are lots of volunteer opportunities throughout the year. So parents can help students with their projects. If they need to volunteer for community service, parents may help them, just being the parent to drive them someplace or to stand there and hold groceries when they're doing a grocery drive. We also have faculty appreciation luncheon that some parents like to plan and put on for the staff and the faculty once a year. We just had a meeting the other day, and it was very interesting because a lot of our in-person events this year will have to change. We had a very lively discussion on how we could still support the school and support the faculty in this appreciation lunch if it's all virtual. And we're trying to find ways to kind of connect socially as parents and also support the community. So we do have an active parent community. It's a lot of fun.
Right. There also is a question about the pandemic and how that's affected the sense of community. Sharon, do you want to say something?
Yep. Sure. So it's something I know that the administration is really concerned about. And the parent committee, I think partly that was one of the reasons why we had this brainstorming session at our meeting, trying to figure out how the parents can still connect. We usually, in a typical year, have a very early fall potluck for each grade, and that's a wonderful way that parents to meet each other and see each other again, especially the new parents. We're very concerned about how they can join and meet each other. So it's definitely something that we're thinking about and trying to solve, actually, maybe either in small group meetings with parents, new parents. I don't think we'll try anything in person, but parents have also been active kind of reaching out to other parents, and I think that helps in the short term.
Suzanne, anything about the way you've seen Saul connecting and the like?
So I feel that, yes, it's definitely a different moment, and we have challenges, of course, but I feel that in terms of connecting with the school, I feel like it's been a seamless connection. If things haven't, like the classes continue to happen normally, advisor meetings continue to happen normally, the recess and the some of the clubs at least continue to happen. So having a little bit of a sense of normalcy within this situation, I think, is helping. But yes, definitely, as Sharon is saying, there's things that we will have to change.
Yeah. I'll add, it's been fascinating to me to watch as the students have come back, including the ones we've watched most closely are the new students, because the returning students knew each other, and when they came back, they were able to sort of reconnect. But the new students one thing that's universal is all students are really happy to get back to school and to be with other kids. And we have basically, we've started having lunch. We give the kids their lunch and they take it outside onto the Commonwealth Mall, the strip of grass and trees between the east and westbound lanes of Commonwealth Avenue. So they sit out there 10 feet apart in circles. They can take off their masks, eat, and talk. And that's just been a delight to watch. They're connecting. The new students have built the kinds of friendships and connections that you want to see at the beginning of the year as they join a new community. And we were worried about being able to stay open. You know, I mean, every school was wondering how long they were going to stay open. We've now been together for a month, and the assistant head said, this has been great. It's great we've been able to do this because the kids have really gotten the connections with each other. We've gotten to know the new kids. And if we had to go fully remote, we have that basis of a relationship which will help us going forward. Last year, when we went fully remote in March, we were acutely aware how valuable it was that we'd had 3/4 of a year together already. So it's been a challenge, but you know, teenagers make the most of any social opportunities they find themselves in, and this has been no different. There's a question about friendships both within and outside school. Do either of you or any other current parents have anything to say about that? Do your kids get together in Boston with their Commonwealth friends? Do they see friends from their old school or the like? Susanna, do you want to say something?
Sure. So I think a little bit of everything. I think she sees more Commonwealth students more often just because their schedule is similar. There's a lot of socializing that goes on in the commute. A lot of students take or took public transportation to and for school. So there was a lot of, you know, we ride back together until a certain point. We hang out together a little bit. We have a cup of tea, and then everybody goes their own way. There was a lot of that going on. Outside of Commonwealth friends, yes, sometimes, but not that often, just because their schedules, every high school has a different schedule. So that was a little bit harder, but they still saw them. They saw their Commonwealth friends more often. She's seen, yeah.
Thank you. Sharon?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also the clubs and the sports are also great opportunities. So Raphael does the play, or did the play when they were in person. And that was a great opportunity, you know, after rehearsal to just spend a few moments or during rehearsal with his friends. Sometimes on the weekends I'll make plans. You know, to be honest, he does have a lot of homework, and that's some of his time management, but he does have homework so he doesn't get to go into town as often as he would like. And I think his friends are the same way. But when there is a club or a sport, you know, he can spend an extra half an hour, after talking to his friends at that time.
Great, thank you. I'll say there's a question in the chat about what we'll do about lunch when weather gets colder. We will bring them back in. We have students in rooms spaced apart. It's trickier when we're indoors because they can't talk as freely. We're concerned about aerosols and the like. So we tell students, if you're masked, you can sit and talk with your friends who are in the room with you. If you're unmasked and eating, please keep the talk down. So that's why we much prefer going outside, and we're hoping the nice weather will hold out. And we are testing students every week. Any given student is in every other week, and at the beginning of that week, they are getting tested. There have been a couple of questions about sports, and maybe if I just give a quick overview, and if anyone else, if Susanna or Sharon or any of the other current parents want to say something, speak up. But students in normal years, this year we've made sports optional, and we're offering a variety of sports, recreational running, cross country. We are doing fencing at the fencing club. It's being done very carefully. We're doing a form of soccer with drills. But in normal years, we'll have a team sport each season. Students are required to do 2 seasons, usually the fall and the winter. Sports are 3 days a week, and there are a range of options from, in the fall, for example, soccer, running, recreational running, fitness, dance, yoga. We offer sailing in the fall, and we have a strong fencing program. The winter, the team sport of boys and girls basketball, and in the spring, the team sport is ultimate frisbee. We compete in, particularly in basketball and the boys and girls basketball and boys and girls soccer, in small small independent school leagues for small independent schools in Massachusetts. And so they'll have 10 games, 10 games a year, and there aren't tryouts. Anybody who wants to participate is able to join the team. Anything to say, Sharon or Susanna, about about Sol's or Raphael's experience?
I can say something. So Raphael started as a fitness. He tried fitness first. He's since joined the fencing team and just loves it. This year, because he's started remote, he can't get to fencing in time. So he talked to Darren Benedict, who's the director of athletics, and they came up with a program for him to run at home, even though it's an optional, even though sports are optional. He took the time to try and figure out how to fit Raphael's exercise into his day. So it's been great. He has enjoyed all the sports so far. He also tried, I forget what the other one was, soccer maybe. But it's just fun for him to have that extra exercise and kind of socialization time.
Great, thank you. Susanna?
Yes, so Sol has tried a variety of sports. She tried fencing, sailing, soccer, and basketball. And she's enjoyed them all. And right now, with the situation as it is, she chose fitness. And it's interesting because she has a subscription to some fitness videos that are very good. And then also Mr. Benedict shared a video for the kids who are doing fitness, I believe. He teaching the fitness class, which was really, really good. So it actually pulled the full family.
Great.
We tried it all.
Mr. Benedict's our new director of athletics and wellness, and he's great, terrific.
Bill, can I jump in here?
Yes.
So,
thank you.
We have a sophomore, and for the fall last year, he did cross-country running, and then in the winter, he did recreational running. And what impressed me the most about his experience on the cross-country team was the tremendous support that he got from the older students. There was actually, he's not the fastest kid on the team, but he loved being part of the team and getting to establish friendships with older students. And I just remember at one of the last meets, there was a senior boy on the team, and he waited, he challenged my son. He said, I know you can run this race. I think you can beat this, a time that was a goal for him. And this student was, I think, one of the fastest kids on the team. And he waited for my son at the finish line, and he waited and he waited and he waited. And he actually didn't see my son cross the finish line. And so the whole team was together at the end, congratulating one another and supporting one another. And this senior challenged my son to sort of achieve a personal best, and was so supportive and encouraging of him in this. And it was just a fantastic thing for me as a parent to see.
No, thank you. Thank you, Andrea. There are a few other questions. There's a question about my class. All ninth graders take a class. This is my last year as head of the school. And in the next few weeks, we expect to be announcing the name of my successor. We've been doing a search since the fall, and we've got 3 really incredible finalists. So I'm excited, and I'm very glad that this place I've been for 36 years, I'm confident it will be in great hands. But it's been a tradition that the head teaches all 9th graders and incoming 10th graders. And I do that twice a week for about 10 weeks. And it's been a course called Language and Ethics, which is an introduction to rhetoric, to critical thinking, arguments. And the reason that I've always taught that is the culture of the place. I tell the students my door is open. If they want to come in and ask me a question or make a recommendation about something we should do differently, I say, do that. That's what I want. I want you to learn to come in and to know what it is to make a case. And I tell them, I promise I'll listen. I don't necessarily promise I will agree. But if in your time here you learn the difference between just expressing an opinion and making a case or an argument, we've done something well. So that's what I've done. My predecessor taught current events. I'll be very interested to see what happens in the coming years. But it's always been a way for the head of school to get to know the incoming students. And there's a question about commutes. Most of our students come from, oh, well, Sharon, you can talk about the commute in particular.
Well, we come from Winchester.
Oh, okay.
So it's not that far. There's a commuter rail and the subway, which I think a lot of students take the commuter rail to school, right, from various places. Yeah.
So most of the students are from in and around the 128 belt, sort of that area. But we have students who come down from the North Shore. We've had students from Marblehead. We've had students from Ipswich and Rockport, and students from the South Shore, as well. Usually they'll often come in on the commuter rail, Southborough and western suburbs. So students will typically spend a half hour to an hour each way is the range for the commute. And there was a question about homework, and the challenge success survey was also very useful there. We found that students are generally doing about 3 hours of homework a night, and what the challenge success people told us is that really is sort of just about what they see at other high-performing public and private schools. We are I was told that this session goes till about 4:50, and we're a minute over that. So what I think I'll do, I'm happy to stick around. Susanna and Sharon may be able to stick around for a few minutes, but I'll officially say thank you to all of you who are coming. If you'd like to sign off and get on with your Saturday, you're welcome to do that. If you want to stick around and talk a little bit more, ask a few more questions, we're happy to do so. But I very much hope that this has been helpful for you. One of the most difficult things for me in being in my last year is that I'm not going to see another incoming class. That's one of the great joys of this job, is seeing the new students come in and watching their arc over the course of 4 years. It's really one of the joys of being a teacher. So this is an extraordinary place, and I hope you will. I hope this has been helpful, and that you will follow up and follow up with an application. Anyway, thank you very much. And as I said, I will stick around.
Mr. Wharton, I also put something in the chat about this, but for people if you do have to leave now and your question wasn't answered, I'm going to save the chat and make sure that we follow up with you so that your question does not go unanswered forever. So
great, thank you. Thank you, Natasha. And, there was a question about math or language placement tests. That's an easy one for me to answer. We do math and language placement tests for all incoming students, and then we put them into the section where that will match where they are. So we'll occasionally have students who come in, who've done Algebra 2, say, or pre-calculus. We'll have ninth graders in every year, some who are taking a calculus class. Students who come in who have some Spanish or French under their belt, they take a placement test. They may start in Spanish 2, occasionally Spanish or French 3, but usually Spanish 2. So we don't just slot kids into the class that all ninth graders are in. That's another advantage of being small. We have students sign up for the courses that they want to take, and then we put our librarian to work over the summer figuring out a schedule that's going to accommodate all the various pieces. It's an infinitely complex puzzle. And does anyone else have any other questions? I think we got to most of the ones that were in the chat, but feel free to speak up.
Hi, maybe I'll just ask one question since nobody has been asking questions. For the student collabs, I think that's a wonderful opportunity for the students to do something together which they think is meaningful. I want to know, how is the school monitoring and getting involved in those activities, and is there any collab focusing on social service?
Yes. There is a community service club. All 9th and 10th graders, although we've given the pandemic, we've modified the requirement, but normally 9th and 10th graders are required to do, I believe it's 20 hours of community service. And in the spring of 9th grade, students who are not taking a sport we have a number of group community service activities. Kids may go over to a neighboring school and help tutor or work with elementary school students. There are a variety of opportunities like that. And the requirement in 9th and 10th grade really is to prime the pump. There's also an organization called Commonwealth Cares that puts on a variety of activities, larger activities every year. One of the big ones is a supermarket drive where they go in teams to supermarkets all over the Boston area and invite people who are going into the supermarket to buy baby goods, diapers, wipes, and the like, and donate them. And then we pass those on to our place, which is a daycare center for homeless children in Cambridge. And our students have raised a tremendous, provided tens of thousands of dollars worth of supplies for our place in recent years. But every club has a faculty advisor who helps, but we like to give the students the responsibility for organizing it. I'll say one of the Commonwealth Model United Nations, which hosts a conference in April for students from area middle schools. That's something that we've worked with the UN Association of Greater Boston the past few years, but they have told us that they really don't have to do that much because our student organizers are so motivated and so well organized. And last year when we had to shut down, without a hitch, they were able to move to a virtual platform, and they ran Commonwealth Model UN virtually as well. So the kids are, they're terrific. It's a lot of fun to see what they do.
Thank you, very helpful.
Thank you. And see, do you want to say, Sharon or Susanna, anything to say about projects, especially, I mean, I can talk about senior projects, but Project Week?
Well, the Project Week, the Project Week is an experience that has been wonderful. So every year, the students have a week to do something, to delve themselves into something like a work. It's kind of like an internship of any kind. And one of the things that I really liked about that is that they're encouraged to try out things that are not in their comfort area necessarily. So different things. So So Sol has done, she spent a week with a retina surgeon and learning about the eyes and how they work and what surgeries can do to improve. And then she spent a week actually at Commonwealth working on illustrating an idea for a book. And last year, what did she do? She was in the Center for Astrophysics at Harvard doing a week-long internship there. And she's really loved it because it's just a practical experience.
Great, great. Maybe I'll just say one more. For seniors, for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, they have a 1-week project, which is at the mid-year break, usually at the end of January, although students can put it off to spring break. And if they participate in one of our overseas trips, when we run overseas trips as a project, that happens in March. But seniors then have a 2 to 3 week project. They get a week off before the spring break, and they can take half or all of the 2-week spring break to do a larger project. And that's something that they develop in consultation with their advisors and the project supervisor. There's also a question about senior capstone projects. That is an independent study with a faculty advisor that three seniors apply, and we have a panel that selects 3 seniors for senior capstones each year, and those are that's one of the few things we do that is competitive, and that's been a terrific opportunity for a number of our seniors. Great. I think we are now at 5 o'clock, and so unless anyone else has any burning questions, I think it's probably a good time this is the time that I'm told the whole event officially ends. So if there aren't any further questions, I will say thank you very much. And again, we hope to see more of you in the coming weeks. And thank you, Sharon and Susanna. Thank you so much for helping out today.